Hi, everyone. This is another video in our series, St. John the Divine's Financial Situation, Serious but Not Fatal. This is a series of videos that we're doing to introduce members of the congregation to our financial systems, to provide information about our current financial situation, and to ensure that everyone feels confident participating in discussions about future plans. And the main series is 4 short videos, first of which thought about our current financial situation, second one of which was focused on our expenses, third of which is focused on sources of income, and this is the fourth of 4. This one is really going to focus on budgeting process and thinking about the AGM and other kinds of mechanisms for getting involved in making decisions about finances. As I've said in the other videos, there also will be a bonus video. That bonus video is the place where we're putting all of the really nitty gritty details for people who want a deeper dive, for people who want more detailed information about our budgeting system and about the real ins and outs of the finances. But these 4 short videos should be enough for people to feel really well informed. And so I'm really thrilled that today I get to be once again with David Buckman, our wonderful treasurer, who is today going to be talking about the budgeting process and the AGM. What is the normal process for determining our budget? What is our budget process, and who's responsible for doing this?
Well, as you know, a budgeting process happens every year, and the normal process for starting to think about, for example, the 2023 budget, that's what I want to talk about now and how we modify that. Normally, the process starts in November of the previous year. It's usually kicked off by the diocese announcing what is the cost of living allowance that will be applied to the clergy salaries or payroll for the upcoming year. And so as a parish, we have to decide on, our staff, whether, how we treat their payroll too. As normally we would give them the same, but I mean, that's where we can make changes too. So as treasurer, my function starts once we get that information, when I basically look back on the current year's budget, which will be this year, and where we're at, how we are tracking that budget. And I sort of simply draw up, if you like, or draft very simply what I call draft 0 of the new budget.
Mm-hmm.
And the only difference likely from the previous one at this point is going to be, the cost of living allowances and payroll changes, unless there is something already known, like, for example, a clergy person is coming or going, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that as I said, starts basically in November, and I then send that first draft to the finance team, which is responsible for compiling the budget, and to all department heads, heads of department, people like Graham Brown for the property, Carol Ann for administration, Ruth for worship and music, and sorry, for family ministry, and David Strackhouses for music. And so that's when we get some feedback from them, and I then send to the December Parish Council meeting just before Christmas. We get some guidance from them on any changes that they are expecting, and that's when they, again, if there's going to be an increase or a decrease in staff, clergy or otherwise, for example, that's when that sort of data would be incorporated.
So it sounds like between now and December then is a really important time. I remember you saying in one of the previous videos that we only just got information about the cost of living increase from the diocese. So it sounds like this is just at the very beginning of what you talked about. And between now and December is when lots and lots of decisions get made and lots of planning gets done. So it sounds like if people want information, or if they want to consider making plans that might need to be incorporated into the 2023 budget, the time is now.
exactly, exactly. One of the budget is not actually compiled until after Christmas, when we've got
Mm,
all this feedback from the departments and also obviously from the Parish Council.
mm,
Um, and so that then goes to the January Parish Council meeting to get their sort of first formal review out of it. At the same time, in parallel with this, another member of the finance team will compile a narrative budget, which uses the same figures, but turns the tells the story as opposed to just being a bunch of numbers.
And so it sounds like people who want to give the parish council advice, want to ask parish council members questions, want to get involved, that one thing to do is to reach out to members of the parish council. And I know that all of us who are members of the parish council, I'm a member of the parish council, are listed on the St. John the Divine website with contact information. And it sounds like people should be asking parish council members questions and really should plan to do so before January, because that January meeting is where lots of budget documents get presented. And so it would be good for the parish council members to have ideas and information and questions before they are at that January meeting.
Absolutely. We don't want nasty surprises or even some bright ideas brought to
Mm.
us in mid-January. Between the end of January and the February Parish Council meeting, the finance team again finalizes the draft, which is going to be sent to the AGM.
Oh, okay. AGM. What does that mean?
Annual general meeting. Some
Mhm.
people used to call it, or may still call it, the vestry meeting. And
Mm.
it's an annual meeting at which, for example, the budget is formally approved, but other people get reports on what has been done in the previous year and so on. And that takes place at the end of February.
Mhm. So that's the meeting where we all vote, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And then what happens? Assuming that we
Um,
all vote and we all say we are here at the annual general meeting, we have had the proposed budget sent to us, we all vote to approve it, adopt it.
yeah,
Okay.
I've presented now 3 budgets for
Hmm.
2019, no, sorry, 2020, 2020, 21, and 22.
Hmm.
And this will be my 4th budget that I'm presenting. And it's never been changed at the AGM, or annual general meeting.
Okay.
So that's fine. It becomes formally adopted, even though in fact we've had 2 months already of the year at this point, because we're at the end of February. I have to break it up into months for the bookkeeper so that he can keep track of it on a monthly basis, because not
Hmm.
everything is spent evenly each month. And then what we can do, and we do each month with Parish Council, is we track exactly at the end of each month, in time for the following month's Parish Council, how are we doing against the budget we adopted. So that's a process that goes on every month, and then each quarter
Hmm.
the financial team issues a formal report to the parish, which is published in Divine Connections, which gives everyone a written and numerical indication of where we're at.
Okay, so I mean, I'm a member of the congregation and I always go to the annual general meeting. And before these conversations with you, I think that's mostly where I've thought about financial stuff. So when we go to the annual general meeting and vote, what really are we deciding on at that meeting?
As you said, the bottom line is we adopt or approve the budget, but in as we've talked about in our previous videos, the budget is basically going to forecast on our operating revenues and our operating expenses.
Hmm.
These are the regular incomes and regular outgoes that determine whether we are solvent or not.
Mhm.
The AGM must obviously confirm all the department totals, set the budget if you like. Now, on top of that, we have some non-operating items, the biggest of
Mhm.
which, of course, is our projects, which are being undertaken each year. You may remember we had a big project 3 or 4 years ago, which was the upgrade the lighting system, and we are currently involved in a major one to improve access to the lower hall from the ground floor. And that all those major projects obviously have to be listed and again improved in concept, if you like, because as we mentioned in previous videos, all projects, major projects these days must be pre-approved, including the scope, the timing, and the cost, including quotes if available, and then also the financing of that. In other words, are we going to get some grants, or are we going to just have a pledge campaign, which will try and raise the money by donations from the parish? So the Parish Council and as recommended by the finance team have said that no major project can be started without this funding in place. So that is all part, if you like, of the greater budget, which is the overall cash flow, which makes sure that we are afloat and we can keep paying our bills during the upcoming year.
Okay, so given that at the AGM, a lot of this has already been planned, and that the question that gets asked at the AGM is often, can we vote to approve or adopt? So when we go to the AGM, like, isn't everything already figured out by then? Is that a place where how can we have discussions of plans to do with our finances? Where can we talk some of this out?
There's two ways broadly that this will be done in a normal year, and as I'm going to talk about it in a minute, this is not really a normal year in one sense, but normally you have to remember that the setup we have is the Parish Council acts between annual general meetings as a sort of surrogate for the annual general meeting. In other words, they can take decisions, for example, to vary the budget or to go into a contract or approve a project or whatever. And as you heard from the timetable, there are at least 2 or 3 meetings, like December, January, and February. That's 3 meetings when the PC has the chance to intervene and make sure that we are developing a sensible and acceptable new budget. So that's one way, is you talk to your friendly parish council members such as yourself.
Excellent, excellent. And then are there any other ways other than people reaching out to parish council members?
The other big one is, and this would be required, for example, supposing it has not happened recently, but if the vote at the end of the annual general meeting said, no, we don't approve the budget, we demand changes, how do you deal with that? And the issue then is that we have to have an SGM or a special general meeting to resolve whatever the problem is.
Okay, so what is a special general meeting?
Well, legally, we have to have an annual general meeting every year to not only approve the budget, of course, which is what we're talking about now, but things like elect the wardens and, approve the reports and make any other major decisions involving the parish. But if there is a decision that is required, which requires parish authorization as opposed to parish council authorization, then you have to have a special general meeting, which has legal requirements about notice. People have to be told in advance what exactly the meeting is being called for, and given papers in which they can read what exactly it's all about.
Okay, so since an SGM, a special general meeting, is a place where we can have discussion and make decisions about some big kinds of things, it isn't just something that we could have if the AGM has ideas that come up where we can't vote. I mean, it sounds like we could have a special general meeting anytime we need one. Okay. So then if there were some big project where, and given all that we've been talking about with expenses and deficits and income, if we wanted to say start a really big project to do some major changes on the building in order to bring in certain kinds of rental income, that sounds like the kind of decision that might need to be handled in a special general meeting.
We also have, of course, the wonderful work that's being done by the Transforming Futures team.
Mhm.
They have been, as you know, consulting for the last 2 years, I think it is, with people in the congregation and outside, and they've come up with some reports that are basically offering some strategic planning alternatives for the next 5 to 10 years as to how we might continue.
Right.
One of the other things they've suggested is we allow an external, like a diocesan review. I think the bishops approved that now, um, which will look at our operations and take an outside look at it and just say, yeah, is there any obvious changes or not so obvious changes that we might make based on an outsider's viewpoint. Now, there's lots of ideas floating around, but clearly we've deliberately started the budgeting process for 2023 months earlier than we normally would, because of not only the fact we're doing this major strategic planning with Transforming Futures, but also if we want, for example, to pick up, say, one of their ideas, like might be to redecorate the lower hall and use it, instead of using it for the food bank, use it for daycare or some other use that would be rented out to an operator, which will bring in more revenue, for example. Now, if we were going to make a major decision like that, or for example, if some of our major staff changes that were being proposed, we would definitely have to hold a special general meeting, likely sometime in November next month, to approve these new actions. So basically, the point we're trying to make, I think, here is the time to ask questions and to share, particularly your great ideas, is now.
If during this process people have ideas, have questions, want more information specifically about the financial stuff, um, who do they talk to?
I'm always available. My number is always published, phone number, and my email is very simply treasurer@stjohnthedivine.bc.ca. So, and I'm quite used to answering questions such as you have posed, and I'm delighted to be able to talk and explain, because I know it is a fairly complex process, and I will consult with the financial team and of course Parish Council as needed if it becomes a major issue.
Well, I'm certainly grateful to you for taking the time to explain things to me. And I hope that by you taking time to explain things to me and us making these video records of our conversations, that you've also explained things to a lot of other people. I'm really, really grateful for your time. And so, what some of my big takeaways here are that the annual budget is going to be developed no later than the middle of February 2023, and it does get circulated, but by the end of February is when we have our annual general meeting. Members of the congregation should be actively involved in planning and asking questions about and approving this budget. And part of what it means to be actively involved in planning and asking questions is not waiting until the AGM at the end of February. The time to start asking questions and sharing ideas is now. And a really good way to do that is to reach out to David Buckman if you have questions, concerns, or ideas. You also should be absolutely actively seeking out and talking to members of the Parish Council. I think that all of us who are on Parish Council would be more than happy to hear ideas and bring them in for discussion and help to move things forward. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.